Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Certainly Allah's deen is Islam. 3. 19. What is Islam? Translation of Islam ki hai? What did Allah say? The Quranic perspective. Ghulam Ahmed Parwez 1964. Talui Islam Trust. Registered. 25B, Gulberg 2, Lahore. 15. The permanent values. In the previous chapters, the reality that the structure of deen revolves around the permanent values has become apparent. Or it can be said that deen provides us with those permanent values by which, if life were lived, this life also becomes a life of paradise. Jannat. And the life of the hereafter is assured of success and prosperity. In this chapter, these values are being introduced briefly. Briefly, because to detail them the complete Quran would need to be presented. 15.1 The human self. Among the permanent values, the highest value is the human self itself, therefore this discussion commences with its introduction. As noted in chapter 1, the Quran refers to the human self by calling it nafs and declares it to be divine energy. Though details have already been given in this connection in chapters 1 and 2. It would not be inappropriate if we reiterated some points here so that with this recap the matter becomes clearer and may find a place in the heart. When the Quran, after mentioning the different stages of man's creation, which is related to his body and physical form and which is shared in common with other animals, states, and breathed into him something of his energy. 32. 9. From this it means this very human self for which this link in the stages of the evolutionary process, man, becomes separated and differentiated from its previous stages, completely advanced from the animal life. The Quran states, then we created out of it another creature. 23. 14. Then we made it into a completely new creation is meant by this. The purpose of human life is the nourishment and development of the human self, the procedure for which is taught by deen. Truly he succeeds that purifies it, and he fails that corrupts it. 91. 9-10. Man's every deed, act, affects the human self. Righteous deeds are those from which strength is produced within the self, and evil deeds are those due to which weakness and deterioration ensue in it. By strengthening of the self man can achieve immortality. Nor will they there taste death, except the first death. 44. 56. In this life of paradise, they will not face another death apart from the first death which affects the body. The term divine energy requires some further clarification. There is manifestation of energy everywhere in the universe, but this energy manifests itself through physical cause and effect, or physical laws. This is referred to as energy of matter. Animal bodies also manifest this energy, even the human body. But in the case of man there is another form of energy also which manifests itself in the form of his freedom to choose and intent. This energy is far more powerful than material energy because material energy is subservient to it. In order to differentiate this energy from material energy, Allah has related it as from himself. And by calling it Ruha-Na, my energy, has termed it thus, and this is what is known as the human self. For this we have used the term divine energy. It should be made clear that the human self is not part of the divine self 205. This energy is bestowed by Allah, and to differentiate it from energy of matter 206 it is called divine energy. The human self is the highest permanent value. The remainder of the values become the means for its development, and when strength is developed in it, then these values keep sprouting and rising automatically from it like the rays of the sun. It should be made clear that this does not mean that the human body has no worth or value. According to the Quran, human bodies, i.e., human physical life and its means of sustenance, have their own values which need to be protected, but these values are relative, not permanent. When there is a clash between the interests of physical life and the human self, then for the protection of the interests of the human self, physical life, and its interests should be sacrificed. Details on these aspects will be discussed later. Therefore, the first and fundamental value is the human self. 15.2 Respect for humanity. Since the human self is received by every human child equally, as a consequence every man becomes worthy of respect and dignity purely due to being human. We have honored the children of Adam. 17. 70. Therefore, respect for a human being is a permanent value which cannot be sacrificed under any condition for any interest or aim. As a result of this, all discriminations of caste, creed, race, color, gender etc. are eliminated. Drawing the attention of the whole of mankind, the Quran states, "Who created you from a single life cell?" 4. 1. Hence, from the viewpoint of birth even man and woman have no preference over one another. Therefore, the next part of the verse quoted above is, "He divided this life cell into two, and from these men and women in great numbers dispersed in the world." 4. 1. Dividing this life cell into two parts he made a pair, i.e., ovum and spermatozoon. And from these scattered a great number of men and women throughout the world. Though men have been endowed with some particular traits which women do not have. And some particular traits are in women which are not in men, and in this way one gender is given preference over the other, men over women and women over men. 4. 32. Further details on these matters will be covered in the last chapter. Therefore, the second permanent value is respect of a human being. 15.3 Status according to deed. From the viewpoint of birth all human beings deserve equal respect, but after this the level of their status will be defined according to their deeds. Works. The Quran states, "And to all are assigned degrees according to the deeds." 46. 19. Everyone will have their status established according to their deeds. Works. Whoever follows the divine laws most closely, he will be the most honored. O mankind! We created you from a male and a female, and made you into tribes and families so that you may know each other. Verily, the most honored of you in the sight of Allah is the most righteous of you. 49. 13. The third permanent value is that the criterion for honor and elevation is personal character, not worldly assets and possessions. 15.4 Justice. To consider all human beings as equal in relation to birth. To provide equal opportunities to everyone for his self-development. To assign status and position according to their effort and deed. To give remuneration according to the work. To not devour the rights and dues of anyone, and to make decisions on all matters according to that law which is applicable to all equally, is called justice. About this, the Quran states, "Surely, Allah commands justice." 16. 90. This is a permanent value whose hold should never be let go from your hand at any time and under any circumstance. Even to the extent that it is essential to do justice to those people who act with enmity towards us. The Quran directs us, "And let not the hatred of others towards you make you swerve to wrong and depart from justice." 5. 8. As has been said above, taqwa, carrying out duties, is the criterion for being honored. From this you have also seen what it is that is called a permanent value. Ordinarily it will be said, how can justice be applied to the nation which is bent upon enmity? But since justice is a permanent value, someone's friendship or enmity can never influence it. Just as the child of an opponent will be considered worthy of respect and dignity due to being a human being, in the same way justice will also be done to an enemy. Hence, the fourth permanent value is justice. 15.5 Consequence of committing a crime. The deliberate flouting of a law is called a crime. Because the system of justice breaks down as a result of this, the prevention of this attitude and these kinds of occurrences is important. This prevention is called the punishment of a crime or qisas. Qisas means to pursue a criminal and to give him the recompense of his deed. In Qisas is hidden the secret of life for mankind. In Qisas there is life for you, O men of understanding, so that you become mutaki. 2. 179. But this Qisas is not an individual matter, it is the responsibility of the government e.g. In relation to the crime of murder, the Quran states, "And if anyone is slain wrongfully, we have given his heir authority to demand Qisas. But let him not exceed bounds in the matter of taking life, for he is helped by the law." 1733. In today's terminology, we can say that in these crimes the government itself becomes the prosecutor or plaintiff. But punishment should always be proportional to the crime and should never be to take revenge. The Quran states, "But those who have earned evil will have a reward of like evil." 10:27. If the criminal repents of his deed and the possibility of reformation is visible in him, then he should be forgiven. In Surah Al-Shura it is stated, "The recompense for an injury is an injury equal thereto in degree. But if a person forgives and makes reconciliation, his reward is due from Allah." System 42. 40. Justice also demands that the punishment for a crime should be received by the criminal. It should not be the case that a crime is committed by one person, whereas the punishment for it is given to another. Every self draws the meat of its own acts on none but itself. 6. 164. Therefore, the law of requital and the demands of justice are one permanent value. 15.6 Responsibility of one will not be borne by another. It is also a requirement of justice that every person takes responsibility for himself. It should not be that responsibility belongs to one person and another person is going around fulfilling it. The Quran states, "No bearer of burdens can bear the burden of another." 6. 164. This principle is so comprehensive that it can be applied to every branch of life. 15.7 Injustice. Doing evil. When justice is such a great value, then it is obvious how flawed evil, which is the opposite of justice, will be. In this regard, not only has the Quran stated that you should not do injustice to anyone, but also that none should have the audacity to do injustice to you or anyone else. Deal not unjustly and you shall not be dealt with unjustly. 2. 279. This is a permanent value or an immutable principle of life, i.e. neither to do evil to someone, nor to allow evil to take place. Or in other words, develop so much power within yourself, in this way creating a system that an unjust and tyrannical individual dare not have the audacity to raise his hand not only against you but even against the weak and feeble. For this, if there is a need to even go to war, i.e. if there is no other option to stop this tyranny of the tyrant except by war, then the Quran permits this. To those against whom war is made, permission is granted to fight, because they are wronged, and verily Allah is most powerful for their aid. 22. 39. Not doing wrong yourself and stopping injustice is a permanent value. 15.8 Ihsan. Restoring balance. You employ a laborer for some work and you pay him according to the amount of work he performs the whole day. This is justice. And give measure and weight with full justice. 6. 152. You should maintain with justice the scales of measurement and weight and never digress from this and commit any excesses. But if you see that the laborer, despite working to his utmost, cannot earn enough to support his family, then it is also incumbent on you that you should compensate for this shortfall. This is called ihsan. The meaning of ihsan is to create balance and beauty, which is indeed the other name for proportion. Therefore, restoring the balance of one whose balance is disturbed is called ihsan. This is also a permanent value. Indeed, Allah commands justice, and the doing of ihsan. 16. 90. Justice demands recompense and retribution i.e. in it what is due to others is paid. But in ihsan there is no question of retribution or payment, therefore the expectation of a return for ihsan is contrary to this permanent value and is a non-Quranic concept. The Quran has stated, "Is there any reward for ihsan other than ihsan?" 55. 60. This means that you corrected the disturbed balance of someone and this balance was restored. i.e. you made an effort to create beauty and beauty was created. Now what more do you expect in return? If you did ihsan to someone with this thought in mind, that in return for it you will receive a greater amount, then this is not ihsan. There is no need to do such an ihsan. Nor expect, in giving, any increase for yourself. 74. 6. The Quran states that your point of view should be this: we feed you for the sake of Allah alone. No reward do we desire from you, nor thanks. 76. 9. Keep this in mind, that after the establishment of the Quranic system, this ihsan, restoring of balance, will be carried out by the system itself, which is responsible for the rububiyyat of all members of the society. But until this system is established, this duty will need to be carried out via individuals. Within the system itself, this duty is, in reality, also carried out by individuals but in a collective form and indirectly. Therefore, meeting the deficiency of others is also a permanent value. 15.9 No one can be the slave or subject of another. An essential consequence of the respect of humanity means that no human being should be the subject or slave of another human being. Everyone should be accorded equal freedom. The clear decision of the Quran on this issue is: it is not possible that a man, to whom is given the book and wisdom and nubuwwat, messengerhood, should say to people, "Be you my servants," rather than of Allah. 3. 79. In a society, no judiciary or executive has the right to use any individual of the society under their own will, nor in the world of religion. Leaving aside all others, has even a Nabi the right to make people his servants and subservient to him. The freedom of every person, and respect for this freedom, is a fundamental and permanent value which cannot be overturned under any circumstances. 15.10 Obedience of the law. But it is obvious that no society or system can be established and survive unless some limits are imposed on the people. The Quran states that these limits will be prescribed through law. And the limits of the principles of these laws will be prescribed according to the revelation from Allah. Therefore, the remaining part of the verse, whose first part is quoted above from Surah Al-Imran, states, "Be you followers of him who is truly the cherisher of all. For you have taught the book and you have studied it earnestly." 3. 79. The complete verse will be translated as follows: that no man has been accorded the right that Allah gives him a code of laws, government, and nubuwwat, and he should say to the people that, leaving Allah aside, you become my subjects and slaves. What he should say is this, that you should all become Rabbani, bearers of the system of rububiyyat of Allah, according to that code of laws, which you have received from Allah, and which you teach each other and keep imprinting on your hearts. From this, two matters become clear. Firstly, that no human being, even if he is given the authority to formulate subclauses or to implement laws, or even if he receives nubuwwat from Allah, has the right to ask another human being to obey his whim. He will only have the law obeyed. Secondly, that the principles associated with this law will not be devised by human beings themselves but will be prescribed from Allah. Therefore, obedience in reality will be of the divine laws, not of the laws devised by men themselves. Follow the revelation given unto you from your sustainer, and follow not, as guardians or protectors, other than him. 7. 3. This law will be applicable equally to every individual of society. Even individuals holding the highest rank will not be exempt from this. So much so that even the messenger himself, through whom the divine laws are received by mankind, also proclaims this great truth that I follow but that which is revealed to me by inspiration. 46. 9. And similarly, I am the first of those who bow to his will. Divine Laws. 6. 163. This means that the messenger follows this law himself first of all and then asks others to follow it. In this way, no individual is the slave or subject of another individual. Decisions on disputed matters are resolved according to the Book of Allah, which is applicable equally on all individuals. The Quran states, if any do fail to judge by the light of what Allah has revealed, they are unbelievers. 5. 44. As for the government which is not established according to the Book of Allah, these very people are kafir. To obey the divine laws and to ask others to follow them is a permanent value. 15.11 Consequence of every deed. Obedience of the law means that no deed of anyone should remain without an outcome. The good result of a good deed should become apparent and punishment for an evil deed should be received. By good deed is meant working according to the divine laws, and by evil deed is meant going against this law. For this purpose, society establishes a system based on police and judiciary. But the arrangement of Allah, who has established the permanent values, is such that no deed of anyone, even if it remains hidden from the police, can remain unaccounted for under any circumstances. Allah has stated that this grand and amazing machinery of the universe is consistently working with this aim that every deed keeps producing its precise result. The Quran states, Allah created the heavens and the earth in truth, in order that each self may get the recompense of its deeds and none is dealt with unjustly. 45. 22. This is called Allah's law of requital, from whose grip, apart from visible acts, even the errors within the heart and the glances of the eyes cannot escape. Allah knows of the tricks that deceive with the eyes, and all that the hearts conceal. 40. 19. This is because, then shall anyone who has done an atom's weight of good, see it, and anyone who has done an atom's weight of evil, shall see it. 99. 7-8. In this regard, never mind others, even Rasulullah is not exempted. In Surah Yunus, the messenger is told to proclaim, I follow naught but what is revealed unto me. If I were to disobey my sustainer, I should myself fear the penalty of a great day. 10. 15. The grip of Allah's law of requital is very strict. Truly strong is the grip and power of your sustainer. 85. 12. According to this law, it never happens that the deeds of anyone go wasted. Never will I, Allah, let the work of any of you go wasted, be he male or female. 3. 195. The Quran makes it clear. If any do deeds of righteousness, be they male or female, and have iman, they will enter paradise, and not the least injustice will be done to them. 4. 124. There is no reduction made in anyone's recompense, nor does it happen that someone is anointed without making any effort. That man can have nothing but what he strives for. 53. 39. Therefore, establishing the precise result of every deed is a permanent value. 15.12 Human system of justice. This justice, the result of every deed being precisely established, functions according to the universal system of Allah. As far as the judicial system which is devised by men is concerned, separate permanent values are given for this. For example, never hide truth knowingly, nor conceal the truth when you know. 2. 42. Neither create confusion between haqq and batil, falsehood and cover not truth with falsehood. 2. 42. Evidence should never be concealed. Conceal not evidence. 2. 283. True evidence should be given for the sake of truth, without any consideration for any kind of greed or favor, or hatred of or prejudice against someone for personal benefit or advantage. O you who believe! Stand out firmly for justice, as witnesses to Allah, even as against yourselves, or your parents, or your kin, and whether it be against rich or poor. For Allah can best protect both. Follow not the lusts of your hearts, lest you swerve, and if you distort justice or decline to do justice, verily Allah is well acquainted with all that you do. 4. 135. Neither there can be any advocacy for criminals. So be not used as an advocate by those who betray their trust. 4. 105. Contend not on behalf of such as betray their own self. For Allah loves not one given to perfidy and crime. 4. 107. Neither can one be a supporter of criminals. Moses said to Allah, never shall I be a help to those who are criminals. 28. 17. Hence, establishing a system of justice in the world and providing full support for its functioning and sustainability are permanent values. 15.13 Managing according to the law. It is the duty of every individual in society and of the Quranic society itself to direct everyone to live life according to the divine law and to prevent violation of the law. You are the best of peoples, evolved for mankind, enjoining what is right, forbidding what is wrong. 3. 110. Therefore, establishing such a society is a permanent value. 15.14 Lawlessness should not be spread. Spreading lawlessness or rebelling against the divine law, which is called fasad in Quranic terminology, is a very great crime. In Surah Al-Baqarah it is stated, when he turns his back, his aim everywhere is to spread mischief through the earth. 2. 205. He will first himself turn his back on the constitution and law, and becoming a dictator will force people to obey him with the rod of his whim. And on seeing this the rest of the people will also begin to flout the law, the consequence of which will be that respect for the law will depart from people's hearts. For such people, very severe punishments have been revealed. The punishment of those who wage war against Allah and His Messenger, and strive with might and main for mischief through the land is execution, or crucifixion, or the cutting off of hands and feet from opposite sides, or exile from the land. That is their disgrace in this world, and a heavy punishment is theirs in the hereafter. 5. 33. 15.15 System based on mutual consultation. A righteous system of government in the world has this duty, that it should implement the permanent values within the society. But permanent values are usually in the form of fundamental principles or boundary lines. The practical sub-clauses of these principles have to be worked out by the system of the society itself according to the requirements of every era. The Quran has stated that this task should also not be assigned to one individual but should instead be accomplished through mutual consultation by the representatives of the nation, who conduct their affairs by mutual consultation. 42. 38. So much so that Rasulullah himself is not exempted from this. He is also told this. And consult them in affairs. 3. 159. Therefore, in the system of a nation, mutual consultation is also a permanent value. But this consultation is not the Western democratic system in which every decision made by those who get 51 votes becomes compulsory on those who receive 49 votes. This consultation will be for the resolution of matters within the domain of sub-clauses while remaining within the boundaries of the permanent values. 15.16 Do not assign national responsibilities to incompetent people. In a righteous society, people who solve problems and fulfill commitments are in truth the custodians of the wealth and possessions of the nation. For this it is essential that this custodianship is only handed over to those who are capable of safeguarding it. This should not be put into the possession of incompetent people. The Quran states, Allah does command you to render back your trusts to those to whom they are due. And when you judge between man and man, that you judge with justice. Verily how excellent is the teaching which He gives you. For Allah is He who hears and sees all things. 4. 58. This is also a permanent value. 15.17 Responsibility for sustenance rests on society. One of the basic aims of establishing a society or national system is also in order that the provision of basic necessities of life for all its people should be its responsibility. This means that it is the responsibility of the society to ensure that the basic necessities of life continue to reach every individual. There is no moving creature on earth but its sustenance depends on Allah. 11. 6. The aim of the Quran in stating this is that whichever nation comes into existence to implement the divine laws, that nation takes all those responsibilities on itself which Allah has referred to Himself as His responsibilities. This nation gives a guarantee for this to all the people, declaring, "We provide sustenance, rizq, for you and for them." 6. 151. In the word rizq are included all means of sustenance which are required for both physical development and for the development of human potentials. In Quranic terminology a comprehensive term zakat is used for this, the literal meaning of which is nourishment. The giving of zakat means providing full means of nourishment to the whole of mankind, which is the first and fundamental responsibility of a Quranic society. The Quran states, "They are those who, if we establish them in the land, establish the system of salat and give zakat." 22. 41. Hence the responsibility of rizq for all people is a permanent value for the system of a society which cannot be disregarded under any circumstances. 15.18 Resources and means of rizq. It is necessary for the system which takes such a great responsibility upon itself, that all the means of rizq should be in its possession and under its jurisdiction. This is why, regarding the sources of production, the Quran has stated in clear words that these are created for the good of all of mankind. It is He who has created for you all things that are on earth. 2. 29. This means that it has been created so that all of you can draw benefit from this, not so that a few individuals or some particular group should grab it and sit on it. In another verse it is stated, "It is we who have placed you with authority on earth and provided you therein with means of sustenance." 7. 10. It must remain freely and equally available for all those who are in need, in accordance with the needs of those who seek sustenance. 41. 10. In other words, these resources for nourishment have been created for the needs of the people, therefore its arrangement should be such that no individual becomes deprived of rizq. Hence, keeping the means of sustenance open for the use of the whole of mankind is also a permanent value. 15.19 What is beyond need? Not only is it the case that the means of sustenance and production cannot be made personal property, but it is even the case that whatever one has that is beyond his legitimate needs, that too should be made available for the welfare and development of mankind, so that society can utilize it for this purpose according to need. The Quran states, "They ask you how much they are to spend, say, what is beyond your needs?" 2. 219. Therefore this is also a permanent value. The state of those who believe in the permanent values is such that they will make available possessions and resources which are beyond their needs for the nourishment of others and will not desire any reward in return, not even a thank you. They will tell them, "We feed you for the sake of Allah alone. No reward do we desire from you, nor thanks." 76. 9. 15.20 Rabi'ah by 8. Sustenance. We do this because the nourishment of others. Rabi'ah by 8. is a permanent value in which we have iman, and by doing this our own personality is strengthened. Hence the Quran states, those who spend their substance, seeking to follow Allah's laws, and to strengthen their self. 2. 265. 15.21 Safeguarding chastity. According to the Quran, protection of chastity is also a permanent value. The safeguarding of chastity means that sexual contact between man and woman should only be through the established procedure of nikah, marriage. Other than this form, sexual contact is declared as fornication, going even near which has been forbidden. Nor come nigh to fornication. For it is a shameful deed and an evil, opening the road to other evils. 17. 32. Anyone who commits this act will be punished. 24. 2. Nikah is the name given to the contract of mutual agreement between an adult woman and an adult man. Becoming master of women through force without their agreement cannot be called nikah. The Quran states, this is not halal, not permissible, that you become master of women forcefully. 4. 19. The purpose of nikah is not merely the satisfaction of sexual desire, its meaning is to establish a mutual relationship based on love and affection. The Quran states, He created for you mates from among yourselves, that you may dwell in tranquility with them, and He has put love and mercy between your hearts. Verily in that are signs for those who reflect. 30. 21. If this state no longer exists between a husband and wife, then they can dissolve their nikah, which is called talaq, i.e. divorce. The person for whom nikah is not possible due to his current circumstances should control himself and protect his chastity. The Quran states, let those who find not the wherewithal for marriage keep themselves chaste, until Allah gives them means out of His grace. 24. 33. As a consequence of sexual perversion, weakness occurs in the character traits of individuals. The Quran states, nor commit fornication, and any that does this meets punishment. Decline. 25. 68. If a nation makes fornication common in its society, then after a period of time, according to researchers, after an interval of 3 generations, i.e. approximately 100 years, national decline and ruin sets in. Therefore, the guarding of chastity is also a permanent value, whose hold can never be slackened. 15.22 Mankind is one ummah. Universal brotherhood. It has been noted at the beginning that the birth of all mankind is from a single cell. 4. 1. Which means that from the viewpoint of origin, all human beings belong to one brotherhood and are branches of one tree. Hence, the purpose of life of mankind is to live as one universal brotherhood and as one nation. The Quran states, mankind was but one nation, but differed. Later. 10. 19. The way to make one ummah from the division of mankind into nations and tribes is to have one code of laws for all of them, which is called one world government in today's terminology. The Quran has presented itself as one common code of laws for the whole of humanity. O mankind! There has come to you a direction from your sustainer. 10. 57. Therefore, for the whole of mankind to live as one ummah according to one code of life is also a permanent value. 15.23 What is beneficial for mankind? Confining the works of welfare and benevolence within the sphere of groups, parties, and nations is against the fundamental concept of the permanent values. According to the Quran, only that deed has a long-lasting benefit which is carried out for the good of the whole of mankind. The Quran has clearly declared, while that which is for the good of mankind remains on the earth. 13. 17. For this, the Quran suggests as a first step that all human beings, without differentiation of color, race, nation, or state, should cooperate in all such matters which are for the prosperity of mankind and should help in following the permanent values, and never assist each other in such matters which lead to weakness and ruin and become a cause for lawlessness among mankind. The Quran states, "Help you one another in righteousness and piety, but help you not one another in crime and rancor." 5. 2. 15.24 Criterion for differentiation. But just as there is a clear difference between those individuals who follow the law and those among them who rebel and break the law, the Quran similarly differentiates and divides all men according to this criterion, that those human beings who accept the permanent values given by Allah and make obedience to them the aim of their life are individuals of one nation, and those who reject these values and wish to follow their own self-created code, individuals of another nation. The former are called Momin, i.e., those who accept, and the latter, Kafir, i.e., those who reject. Thus this is the only division of human beings which comes into existence according to the criterion defined by the permanent values. Other than this there is no other criterion for division and differentiation. In modern terminology, this is known as ideology. Therefore, according to the Quran, the criterion for nationality is ideology. The difference in color, race, blood, language, and nation cannot be a cause for differentiation between human beings. This criterion for division is in itself a permanent value. Hence in Surah Al-Taghabun it is stated, "It is He who has created you, and of you are some that are kafir, and some that are momin." 64. 2. 15.25 There is no compulsion in deen. No one can be made to accept the permanent values by force. Acceptance or rejection is the name given to the decision made by the human mind. A decision which is not made willingly and freely cannot even be called the decision of that individual. A decision is only that which is made according to one's own wish. Therefore, in the matter of deen, the code of permanent values, one cannot use coercion. Let there be no compulsion in deen. Truth stands out clear from error. 2. 256. In another verse the Quran states, "Say, the truth is from your sustainer. Let him who will, believe, and let him who will, reject." 18. 29. Whoever accepts haqq will benefit from its pleasant results, and whoever rejects it and follows a different path will be confronted by its destructive effects. No kind of action will be taken against the ones who reject Kafir. Solely for this reason, that why did they reject this path? i.e., leaving Islam, why have they adopted another religion? Not only is it the case that nothing will be done against them, they will be accorded personal liberty in religion, and the protection of agreements with them will be the responsibility of the Quranic system. In Surah Al-Hajj, the Quran states, "Had not Allah checked one set of people by means of another, there would surely have been pulled down monasteries, churches, synagogues, and mosques, in which the name of Allah is commemorated in abundant measure." 22. 40. Therefore, responsibility for the protection of these places of worship of non-Muslims will belong to the Islamic State. Not only protection of their places of worship but also their life, property, honor, dignity, chastity, protection of every possession of life. Indeed, on the basis of equality, these people will have a right to all those rights and privileges which are received according to the permanent values due to being a human being. It is clear in this regard that there can be no kind of compulsion on anyone, neither physical force nor mental persuasion, that they should accept Islam or accept another religion. But when an individual, having accepted Islam willingly of his own accord, becomes a member of the Muslim society, then it will be incumbent on him that he should obey the Islamic laws. It cannot be that after becoming a citizen of the Islamic society, or in modern terminology the Islamic State, He can then be left to his own free will to obey whichever law he wishes and break whichever law he wishes by saying that there is no compulsion in deen. Compulsion is not applicable to which religion he accepts, but when, through his own free volition, he becomes a member of the Islamic society, then he voluntarily makes the laws and rules of this society compulsory on himself also. If he does not wish to remain within the domain of these laws and regulations, then he has permission to leave the sphere of Islam and adopt another religion. 15.26 Divine Attributes. In the previous pages there has been a brief introduction to the main values among the permanent values stated in the Quran. In this regard, if you study the Quran on these lines, then ever new realities will be exposed to you. In reality, the origin of these permanent values is the Divine Self Himself. If we look more closely at the divine attributes which the Quran has explained so beautifully, leaving aside a few 208 among them, the rest, which are commonly called ethical attributes, are all permanent values. The Quran has named these by using a comprehensive term, al-Asma'ul Husna, the balanced attributes. Keeping these divine attributes in front as a model, the requirement of life and the purpose of deen is to continually manifest the human potentials within oneself. As strength continues to develop with the human self, these attributes, i.e., the permanent values, will keep manifesting. A mu'min human being is one who manifests these attributes naturally through his self, exactly like a crystal which reflects the rays of light outwards without any effort and automatically. These are those individuals through whom the Quranic society is shaped. Just think that if in the human world such a society is established in which respect for the permanent values surges from the depths of the heart and these are not let go under any circumstances, then how this world will transform into Jannat. In this Jannat, every person will have the security of this assurance that nothing will be done to him out with the permanent values. The other meanings of Mu'min are the one who is at peace himself and gives a guarantee of peace to others. In the human world, real peace can only be established through the hands of the Jamaat of Mu'minin.